question that we're going to start off with is, how have you built your affluent network, right? So how have you built your affluent network? We're going to start with Mike Rampf from Vancouver.
So I started real estate when I was 24. I don't think anybody would really want to trust me buying a car off me, never mind buying luxury real estate. So I found it very challenging to get into the higher end market. About 8 years into my career, I joined like a coaching program, like I'm sure a lot of us have all done on this call. And I spoke to the gentleman. I said, how do you sell high-end real estate? He said, well, I just got out of a helicopter with Ellen DeGeneres. I'm like, okay, this guy's got it figured. I want to sell real estate like this guy does. And at the end of my 1 year program with him, I think it was pretty easy. I think I can save everybody a lot of money. You don't have to go through an elite training program for 1 year. It really came down to, who do you want to work with and where do they hang out and how can you build a relationship with them? It's really as simple as that, I think. So when I was 24 years old outside of university, I was not going to an affluent club or volunteering where the people in Vancouver really hang out. I was skiing, snowboarding, at pubs, and guess who I was selling? People that frequented those three areas. So I changed my mentality. I've always wanted to volunteer. I've always wanted to give back. So I joined the board of advisors for a nonprofit, not-for-profit. That was where my help people out. And then from there, I was getting to know CEOs of big companies, of tech, of entrepreneurs, people of like mind. Look, I was still on the younger side. These gentlemen and ladies were a lot older than me, but I was able to sit in a room with them, not hand out my business card, ask to sell their real estate. It was, how can you build a relationship with these people over 5 to 10 to 15 years? And now I'm friends with them. Everyone knows a realtor, but now they know, like, and trust me. I've built that trust over the years. So you sell one of their houses, and before you know it, hey, you sold Jim's $17 million house in Southlands. Awesome. Okay, if he trusted you, let's go. And then the floodgates kind of just opened up. So it's hang out where people want to be, that you want to work with, and authentically create a relationship. Do not, this is my philosophy. Don't tell them you're a realtor. Real estate. Talk to them about real estate. Talk to them, build that relationship. And I'm 20 years in the industry now, and it seemed to have worked out from a young buck at 25 that couldn't grow facial hair to where I am. So it happened.
Awesome advice, Mike. Thank you so much. Joanie Heighes with Engel Volkers, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. How do you, or how have you built your affluent referral network?
So actually, along the same lines as Mike, but I've never ever sold a $17 million property yet. But when I grow up, I want to do that. My business coach told me a long time ago that you have to put yourself around the people that you want to work with. And so at the time we were living, my husband and I were living in a luxury high-rise downtown. And she told me, don't just get in the elevator and stand there. Talk to people. Those are your customers. Talk to them. Say hi. Don't tell them you're a realtor. Get to know them the same way. And then the more you chat with them, the easier it will be. The other thing that I did very early on in my career was I joined BNI, Business Networking International. And I learned how to network because I never knew that before. And I learned that if you put it out to the universe, it does eventually come back. But you can't say to people, I want to work with people selling multi-million-dollar properties. I found that I can tell them that I'm interested in working in certain neighborhoods. And if you say, you know, you want to work in XYZ neighborhood, somebody in your group either knows someone or knows someone who knows someone. And then you can get invited to events that are going on there. And again, you don't have to tell them you're a realtor. Just be there, be involved in the events, and eventually, you know, that will happen. Some things work out, some things don't. I speak French, and so my business coach and I, Karen Nutter, decided that I should join the French club here in Jacksonville, and that didn't work out at all. So, you know, you're going to have things that you say, yeah, not so much, but yes, put yourself around your target audience. That's my advice.
That's awesome. Yeah, Business Networking International is a fantastic program. We actually belong to it here in Rhode Island. It's been unbelievable. Great advice, Joanie. Thank you. Jennifer Vargas from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, so it's definitely along the same guidelines. I mainly stay in the equestrian field, whether it's rodeo or dressage, not dressage, polo. That's a very common mistake, so don't worry. But there is a lot of different types of people that run through that network, as well as, you know, it's kind of like the same thing as golf or tennis. But the equestrian field or cattle, it's, you know, larger animals, it's definitely different. And there's, you know, you see, it's really just kind of the same thing, who you hang out with, who you talk to. I've only been in this business since 2020. And the people that I hang out with, and also actually for me, it was the brand, it was the EV brand. When I started with a smaller company, and nobody would really give me a chance. But as soon as I switched over to EV through Polo, that's how I met my broker. Now I'm hitting, you know, $4 million farms. I'm getting ready to list a $12.5 million farm from a friend of mine who I've known since I was 11. So, and I do not talk about real estate to the people personally, but everybody knows that I know dirt. And so that's why they come to me. And it's pretty cool just being, you know, only 2 years in and being able to jump into that kind of world. No, it's not high-rise houses. It's not, you know, mansions, but it's large amounts of acreage and, you know, and investors that are looking to buy acreage. So it really is just kind of sitting around and talking to people and keeping that in the back of your mind.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jennifer, 2020, I mean, 2 years in, and I saw the listings on your website. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So that's pretty inspirational, especially to a lot of people in here who might be newer as well. I mean, there's no limit to what we can and can't do. That's great. So market specialization is what I got from that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anne Malone with Chicago North Shore, or shop in Chicago North Shore. So Anne, how have you built your affluent network?
Well, I would say, you know, similar things to the prior responders. I have approached the market obliquely, you know, not so much in your face, but like I sit on boards, I play some sports, you know, I've made contacts through my kids' school and through clubs. I would say that if you are going to be on a board, I think that's a really good way to meet high net worth individuals. You know, they're passionate about what their charities are and so forth. But if you are going to chair an event or be in a committee, you need to knock it out of the park, because they need to see you as capable and professional and reliable. So that has been one of the main ways that I've made contacts. And then I get great referrals, as you guys have said. Once you do a really nice job for someone, then they refer you to their friends and you're in.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne. Great advice. And Emiliano Conti coming in from Venezia, Italy. Emiliano, how are you building your affluent referral network?
Hi, guys. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty lucky to work in a city like Venice, because I mean, it's a global brand. Everybody knows it. I think in US we have 11 towns named Venice, if I did my homeworks correctly. So it was actually easy to build a network on the buyer side, because it's, I mean, a lot of people wants to come and buy property here. Our hardest part was to build a seller's part to get the listings. Because back in 2015, when I started in, when we started here in Venice, best listings were in the hands of few professionals, some lawyers, some accountants and architects. So we need to convince the locals that we are reliable and international. Actually, it's a seller's market, it's always been. So when we first started, after one sale, everything was a lot easier, because from one sale you have another listing, from our listing, another listing. Now we are 25% market share. So we're good.
Wow, that's amazing. Absolutely. So build that professional network. Agreed. Great advice. Thank you. So just to recap, number one, guys, it's all about those authentic relationships and giving back. The more you give, the more you get. Firm believer of that, and everybody pretty much summed that up over there, which is great. So, show of hands, everybody here on Zoom, show of hands, okay? How many people on this call, this is everybody, how many people on this call have ever felt almost as an imposter, you know, going into luxury? Maybe, you know, I mean, look, yeah, a lot of us, right? Like, not everybody grew up affluent, or not everybody came into the market selling multi-million-dollar homes, right? Some of us, like here in Rhode Island, we were knocking out $300,000-$400,000 homes, right? And then when we joined Engel Volkers, we were able to, like all of us, able to grow that type of business in the multi-million-dollar market and sell luxury homes, luxury estates. So our next question is going to be about the imposter syndrome, because this is super important. So I'm going to go ahead and ask, out of our panelists, who wants to hit this? Who wants to talk about how maybe they felt as an imposter going into luxury real estate and how they conquered that? Is there any of our panelists that want to hit that?
I don't mind starting.
All right, Mike from Vancouver, go ahead.
So again, I was young, and I'm surrounded by, you drive through one neighborhood, let's call it Shaughnessy, and you're seeing 4 realtors' names, same 4. It's like basically divided 25% between the, they're all 60, 65, and 70 years old. And then this young buck, 25-year-old, tries to get into this market. I had a conversation with one of them after I got a couple listings, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Remember when you tried to sell real estate in Shaughnessy?" Ed burst out laughing, turned around and walked away. And this was at an awards dinner. And so it was blatant. You are not welcome. Please leave, go away. And it was just, initially when that happened, I'm like, if Les told me to go away, I should probably stop and walk away. I'm too young. I shouldn't be doing this. I haven't lived here all my life. He's lived here. All of them were born and raised here. I don't have the network that he has. And then again, that training, I went to one of the conferences and he said, everybody stand up and think about think about all the reasons why they're so much better than you. But then think about all the self-limiting doubts that are going through your mind that are holding you back. And at the end of it, I'm like, he has 2 hands. She has 2 hands. She wasn't born here. Well, she wasn't from Vancouver, from an area in BC. At the end of the day, I have the same tools, the same mouth, the same eyes. I live in the same neighborhood. Why can't it be me? And that once I go rid of that self-limiting doubt that I can't be as good as them, and then leaving the brand that I was at and moving to Engel and Volkers, it all kind of snowballed and made a massive difference. I just put my head down, stopped listening to the noise, and did my job better than they did. And before I knew it, they were saying, "Oh, you got to talk to Rampf. He's using a drone. He does twilight shoots. He does wine and cheese events. He rents luxury cars and parks." I got one listing, and I $1 million listing that like no other. I had servers greeting people at the door. It was my first big listing. It was the most expensive house in Vancouver, and and I was in my 20s trying to sell this house. So how do you stand out? I invited everyone in the neighborhood. I hand delivered, it was like a wedding invitation to all of these homeowners to come and see this house. Now I met every single person in the neighborhood, and it went, oh yeah, I know this top agent, I know that top agent, I know that top agent. And then when it came to selling, I was brought in, so I was interviewed with those top agents, but are you going to do the cool things that you did when you had Angus on the drive? Are you going to do a drone? Are you going to do a one? Because my other agent that's been doing this for 40 years, he doesn't want to. So I'm so scared of getting into this market to, Mike, please will you come and sit in my living room? I really want to talk to you about how you did such a good job on Angus. Please will you come? So it was amazing how that mindset changed from I'm an imposter to I'm lucky to be, no, they're lucky to have me sitting inside their living room. I never saw it that way. I was just loving to do my job, but they were so grateful to have me sitting in the room to give them the opportunity to talk about how we marketed our homes. So it was, as soon as I got rid of that self-limiting doubt, it was actually easy. So it's all, I think, a lot in your head. Put your head down and go get it.
I love it. And Mike, I'm so glad that you took that and ran with it, because everybody, this is the team leader of one of the top teams in the entire network of Engel and Volkers who felt as an imposter. And now, Mike, how many young bucks, how many young lads do you think, or young ladies now are looking at you and kind of feeling the same way, right? How much of your competition now looks at you in the Vancouver market and is like, oh man, I'm an imposter here. There's no way I can compete against Mike Rampf, right? It's fantastic. Good stuff. Thank you. Any of our other panelists want to kind of talk about how they ran into some issues at first? Anne Malone, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'll make this short too, is that, you know, I was a little intimidated at first, and then I was watching this very successful high-end realtor in her office. And I realized from the way that she was marketing and what she was doing, and then I actually had a transaction with her, that I realized that I could do a much better job than she was doing for any of these clients. And then after that, I would, well, you know, you're not an imposter if you're an excellent resource for your client. If you can do the job and do it better, then you're not an imposter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to tail end on that, on what Mike was saying, as well as, and I mean, the farm and ranch field is probably one of the toughest areas I've ever been in, because you are dealing with, in my side, the good old boys, that they are, you know, 75 plus years old. They've known every shift of grain of sand, every owner, every family of owners, and they've been there a million years. And coming in being not, you know, 20, but not part of that original people that know all of the, you know, owners that have lived there forever, it is very difficult. But here's where I come in, is with our marketing, because these guys, they don't do social media. They take phone pictures on their flip phone, if they have one. It's one of those things where, you know, we come in, and even though I can have way better marketing and social media and all of that, I have to take it further, and I have to go as the expert. I go to all the town hall meetings. What's happening? I have to go to all these building, you know, anything involving any type of city meeting, I'm there, because that's where I'm seeing, oh, guess who, what developer's coming in, and yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere, but he just bought 400 acres. What's coming out? So then when I'm talking to my clients and be like, hey, you know, Wolf Development just bought X amount of land in the middle of nowhere, let's figure out what's happening. Sure enough, you know, guess who's coming in to buy Austin? Samsung. Guess who's coming in Tennessee is, you know, another major corporation. So these things, I feel that even though we can feel not good enough, as soon as we start hitting those expert levels of just doing a little bit of digging and research and going to your city hall meetings, I mean, I have to go to 4 different counties because that's, my territory is 4 different counties, 2-hour radius every direction at the beginning of the months. But that's how people know why they come to me, because they're like, hey, what is going on? I saw survey stakes. Let's find out why there's survey stakes on that property now. So that's where I put myself, and I kick out the syndrome, because I'm like, my only competition is myself, really, because these guys are going to be retired soon. Guess who needs to take the reins on being the expert in that area?
Yeah, total confidence. That's great. We're gonna move along from this subject. Thank you very much. That was awesome. Now let's talk about lead sources, right? Because we talked about our network, we talked about imposter syndrome. Let's talk about lead sources. Now, what lead source, okay, has been outside of your referral network, has been your #1 best friend in luxury real estate? We're gonna start with our friend Emiliano Conti.
Really, just to add something to what Jennifer said on the imposter syndrome. Sorry, preparation. That was my secret. Study hard, study a lot, know everything in terms of regulation, architectures, law, and so on. So I was the youngest one in the room. I need to be prepared. So study hard, study. That's the knowledge is the secret. Then on back to your question on listings, really, again, Venice is a really small town, so everybody knows everyone else. I was not born here, so I needed to live here, move here. I studied here actually when I was a lot younger, and then just go around. It's just really a small town, and from people to people, and that's it. Sorry, it's not quite interesting.
That's okay. That's all right.
It's really different here in Venice. If you know it, it's really a small town, and you need to be prepared, and you don't need to lose your face or your reputation. Reputation is the best. So you do one sale, you have a referral of friends and families, and big families owns a lot of property. So you sell one property of one brother, you have 10 other properties of the other brothers, uncles, and so on. So
Big Italian families, absolutely. Word of mouth is absolutely huge. How about Joanie Heighes? Joanie Heighes, what is your, thank you, Emiliano, thank you. Joanie Heighes, what is your #1 top lead source right now for luxury real estate?
Word of mouth, absolutely. When you do a really good job for one customer, they will tell all of their friends, and they talk about it in the neighborhood. They talk about the level of service that you've given them, how you are not the old boy in the neighborhood. You're not just taking a picture on your flip phone if you've got one, but how you really earn their business. You've exceeded their expectations. You show them respect, and you got results. And that if you can build on top of each success that you have, put it on social media, talk about it a little bit. Be careful not to brag, just give the facts. But once you've broken into a particular neighborhood, then it just spreads. And then the other thing is, stay in touch with your customers. Put them on your Facebook page. I've heard people say, don't put someone on your Facebook page that you wouldn't allow in your living room. Well, I've done business with these people. They can come in. I'm happy, and then they see what I'm doing and how I'm a real person. I have grandchildren, and I go places and do things, and then they comment. It was great to see that trip that you just took to Barcelona. It's, whatever, but stay in touch with them, because that word of mouth is absolutely your lifeline. It's what keeps you going. They'll send you people.
Absolutely, yeah. Social media is huge. Get in front of everybody, stay in front of them, and that increases word of mouth. I agree. How about Anne Malone? Anne Malone, what's your #1 lead source right now in luxury real estate?
Well, I mean, definitely just my contacts, friends, and so forth, and the people that they refer to me. That's definitely, you know, my number one. And you know, we've talked a little bit about that. How I know them through sports and boards and, you know, all kinds of other activities. But I would say I follow that up with direct mail. I think a postcard is a beautiful thing. It works in my market. Maybe it doesn't every market, but I think it's good. It keeps you in front of them in a more like direct real estate manner, like you're interacting with them socially, perhaps, or in a sport or whatever. But this just reinforces that, hey, I'm a professional. These are all the properties that I'm selling. I'm very active and I'm in your market. And then also social media. I feel really strongly about that. And yes, I do post my friends and associates, and I follow them and comment on all of what they're doing as well, which I think is really important.
So Anne, have you had any return on investment on your postcards? If so, you know, what is it?
Well, I think
Go ahead.
I think it's a cumulative effect and it's hard to know, but I do have friends who are telling me they see my postcards and commenting on like how nice they are and so forth. So I know it's getting through. I know the message is getting through, and it's a cumulative thing.
Yeah, it's like radio or magazines. It's hard to really tell where it's coming from, but it's the reason why Coca-Cola is on billboards everywhere. It's all about just staying top of mind. Awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you. How about let's jump over to Mike Rampf. What's your number one lead source right now?
Joanie, I definitely look forward to meeting you in person. I run my business very similar style to you. I don't like bragging. That's not my thing. My social media team forced me to do things. I'm not a social media person. I think the last time I posted something on my social or my personal Facebook or Instagram was probably a year ago. So I'm an anomaly. I don't push social media. I don't like to brag. I rely on word of mouth, my past clients, my sphere of influence, the people that I know. That's where I'm getting most of my business. I spend a lot of time and effort maintaining relationships with them, sending them off and sending them birth cards, anniversaries, sending them flowers, staying in contact, taking them for lunch. I really work my database. Every single person I meet that will give me their email address, my first goal is to add them to our newsletter. So I'm constantly staying in contact with them through that. And then I've heard BNI come up a few times. My first 10 years of my career was at BNI. And it was absolutely incredible to get out there, to meet people that were interested in real estate, that wanted to buy and sell. Have to be BNI, but it has to be a networking source. You have to be meeting these people on a regular basis. I've subsequently started my own charity-focused networking group, and I've got entrepreneurs from Vancouver, and all our goal is to fundraise for X, Y, Z. We have people come to us, we're trying to raise money, and we try and promote our networks to help this charity. And that way I'm sitting in a room with like-minded, very successful entrepreneurs and business people in Vancouver on a regular basis. And then the mailer, that postcard, I know my exact numbers. I know how much it costs. I know how much I earn per year. I know where the lead comes from. That is one of my most amazing and profitable market spends that I have. I use a company called REM Real Estate Marketing. REM. I think you have it in the States. I've been using them for 15 years now in the neighborhood that I work. I know how much it costs me. It costs me $900 a month, and I'm earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on one mail drop, and it goes to 900 homes. So that's, if you don't do it, you should have started it a long time ago. If you haven't, start it today. You have to do it and do it consistently. If I sell something and I just send out a mail drop, I get a call maybe once a year if I'm lucky, and it never turned into anything. A constant solid farm area, and I just grew it a little bit every time I sold something. The profitability on that is unbelievable. I think that's a must. And your database, working your database and a farm and authentically meeting people. That's
Fantastic. Yeah, awesome. So the name was REM. Valerie asked REM, you said?
yeah, REM, real estate marketing. It's a program. You don't get to see the database. They send a beautiful flyer. You can do a 4-page or a 2-page. It's nice hard stock. It's got their name, so it's addressed to the homeowner, Jane and Joe. Thanks for reading this newsletter. This is a personal note from Mike Rampf. Here are the stats on your neighbor, the houses that we sold last month. These are the other houses that sold last month. Do you have any questions? Free home evaluation. And whenever I do a listing presentation, that flyer and all the other ones are sitting on the countertop, and they've been looking at it because it's got useful information. It's got stats. And it literally took me 10 minutes to talk to the person that designed it, and she just sends it. And for $1.50, dollar for a piece that gets sent, it's unbelievable. And the quality is better than anything else in the mailbox.
I love it. And just keep a note, guys, that anytime we're talking about technology or companies, sometimes it varies from Canada to the United States to Italy to, so just there are, if you can't get that service here in America or Italy, there might be something else like it. Jennifer Vargas from Houston, Texas, what's your #1 lead source right now?
So my #1 lead source is actually people who call me, buyers calling me on my listings that are unrepresented. That is my #1. I started this in this business with my own personal rental. And when somebody would call and ask about it, and I didn't think they were, like they didn't work out, I say, well, let me help you find something. That's how that snowballed into every person that calls on one of my listings. If they're not represented, I'd be like, obviously you're looking for this. Have you thought about this? Let me help you. Let me meet you. Let's go over a few things. Let's sit down and talk about your goals. Are you looking for, just a farm? Are you looking to invest? Because there's different aspects of that. But yeah, that's my #1 lead source, is the unrepresented buyers calling me on my listings.
Love it. Good stuff. You know what's so funny about our entire panel is not one person said Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those websites, right? That for so long we hung our hat on as realtors, but all in all, it's all about the network, and it's all about your sphere of influence and word of mouth. Really, newsletters, Facebook, postcards. Really, I wasn't expecting to hear all of that, but that's really, really great. So. If you are new too, again, look at Jennifer Vargas. 2 years in, check her website out. She's listing $4 million ranches. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
And
all right.
And I will say, one of my properties I have is actually a referral from Angie in Jacksonville for a $3.8 million farm on the river, and it is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And those sellers, she is one of the most amazing people I've ever met. Her guideline for people coming in has to match the Hermes catalogs. That is it. And when we came in, our marketing, our system, how we do things, we matched her criteria, and she loves it. And I send her GG magazines, and she loves it. She's dying to meet Christian Volker. I'm like, if I could make that happen, that would be amazing. But that was another income, source of sellers that I get, or even buyers, is the referrals from the other shops.
That's great. Thank you, Jennifer. And right before we move on to #4 here, I just want to say, everybody, take a note of who's on this call. Like, you don't have to write everybody's name down, but think about everybody that's here. They're all eager. We're all eager to learn together. We're all eager to send referrals, receive referrals. So let's always keep our network in mind. Download the Advance app if you don't have the Advance app, and you can connect with any shop, any advisor in all of the Americas, if you're in the Americas. So let's jump over to #4. Who is your biggest competitor? How are you differentiating yourself and your services from them right out the gate? First contact, first phone call. Let's start with Anne.
Okay, so my biggest two competitors, and they definitely are, were at a boutique company a few years ago, and then they joined Compass. And so now they are both on two like big, huge teams. And so like the personal contact with that realtor to the seller or the buyer is much reduced. So what I am not on a team, I'm just, my person, myself. And so what I can give to my clients, sellers, and buyers is personal attention. I do all my own showings. If they need if they need information, they need to talk to someone, they call me directly. I am there for them, and they know that. And a lot of wealthy individuals prefer that kind of service over a team where they don't really know, who I'm supposed to talk to today, or who's going to be showing my house, who's in my house. Do they know about the alarms? Do they know all of the particular interesting things about the house, the art, the things that make it unique? So I think that is one thing that differentiates me from my biggest competitors.
Awesome, Anne, I love it. Okay, so you're coming at it from a solo agent, as I'm gonna have, you completely covered. I know your home, I know you, I know what you want, I know your expectations. Let's pop this over to a team. Let's pop this over to Mike Rampf out of Vancouver. Mike, right out of the gate, how are you differentiating yourself?
So I think I mentioned it earlier, just be different and better. So when I was being brought into these Shaughnessy houses, okay, my agent that's been working with me for 40 years, he doesn't do the drone, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. What are you going to do that they won't? So the whole sales aspect and marketing, we're now in 2022, act like it. You got to use new technology. It's not stuff everyone on this call knows. How to be successful. Answer your phone. We all know we have to answer our phone. Answer your phone. The amount of realtors that we deal with on every day that don't answer their phone. I'm dealing with somebody right now that I'm trying to negotiate an offer. I haven't to her on the phone yet. And we're on the second round of a counter and she won't answer her phone. How do you sell real estate if you don't answer your phone? To be honest, if I'm in the shower and my phone rings, I'll turn off the shower, I'll get out and I'll answer the phone. If I don't recognize that phone number, I'm answering that phone. 9 times out of 10, it's a marketing call trying to sell me a lead gen. But what happens if it's not? So answer your phone. As easy as just answer your phone. And a lot of the time I get to the end of a transaction and a client will say, you know what, the best part of dealing with you is you answered your phone. That's honestly one of if you can take one thing from this call, I think that's the most successful.
Absolutely. And so go ahead, Anne.
I just said I agree with that. Answer your phone.
Yeah. But we're getting back to the basics now, which for a couple of years in most of our markets, business was just flying in, right? So out of everything we're looking at and hearing here, we're getting back to basics. I'm hearing, not in this call yet, but door knocking. I'm hearing, open houses, face-to-face, the network, postcards. That's all where it's at. Great. All right, let's jump over to Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you separating yourself from your competitors?
Yeah, it's really one of those things that for me, it's research on the properties. Again, my competitors are the good old boys, but there are some high-end companies in some of the areas I work with, but they won't go into another county. And when I say another county, well, that county might be 45 minutes away. I personally have no problem driving 2.5 hours one way for a showing because I know that's money and the scenery is beautiful. So, but before I even get there, I've already pulled up, topography maps. I pulled up soil samples. I pulled up gas line, pipeline surveys and stuff like that, because all that's public, information. It's not like I have to call companies or pay for that. So when we get there and if I have a buyer client and I'm they're meeting with another agent and I show up with my folder and I'm set and I have all this documentation ready to hand to my client when we step out to get ready to look at something, that puts me way above and beyond than just, showing up with the MLS sheet that say, learning about, one of the main things for us is, when I'm working with a lot of investors, they in 3 years will want to divide up the property. Guess what? Let's calculate the rollback taxes on that, because not too many people realize that if you change the use of a property, you're going to have rollback taxes, and sometimes that can be astronomical. So really doing research and really being prepared to impress the other agents when you show up to a showing, that'll put you way above and beyond your competitors.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Thank you. Emiliano, how are you separating yourself from your competition? What are you doing to differentiate yourself?
I strongly with Jennifer. You need to be prepared a lot. And we have two big competitors. One is probably Sotheby's, because of the name and the prestigious of the listings, but they don't do they have a ridiculous market share. So our real competitor is like this network of small agencies, like 100 of small agencies of one person dealing each other, exchanging clients, exchanging listings. It's hard because you have one against a lot. Sometimes it's hard because you have one against a lot of people, but they do a lot of noise. So we separate from them with professionalism. We do better marketing. We work on our own, so we don't share. That in US is insane to say that, because you share, you normally follow a buyer and someone else follows the seller. We join the two parties. In Italy, it's quite different actually. So we try to stay on our own, instead of dealing with 800 listings. We focus on ours 200, and we do it better. So that's it, pretty much it.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. And Joanie Heighes, who is your biggest competitor and how are you differentiating yourself from them?
So like everybody else has already said, my biggest competitor are the good old boys who have been here doing their work for the past, I don't know how long, and they feel entitled. They don't want to go out of their way to exceed people's expectations for service. They've been working the way they've been, and it's been working out just fine for them, and they have not moved forward. When I go on a listing appointment of this caliber, and actually any caliber, I am loaded to the hilt with data. So I have all of my Engel and Volker stuff. I have my white listing book, which is full of testimonials from people talking about how I do business, because they can't read that while I'm there. But of course, I leave it with them. They're going to read that, and it should be confirming what they think they just learned about me when we were together. I also take with me exposés to show the difference in how we market. I take examples of my postcards that I send out to neighborhoods that I've been at before. And then I'm loaded with data. So our MLS has this great part to it that we can plug in data for a neighborhood, and you can see, and then it gives you a really nice looking chart. It shows how many cash sales have happened in that neighborhood, and how is that comparing now versus the market that we just saw where everybody was bringing cash. What percentage of the properties sold above list and what we're in now. And I'm able to really, with that data, drill down to what they should expect for their home, and how the whole market is moving and shifting. And I can do it for their neighborhood, and then of course the area in general that they're in. And I think that the more data that you can bring to them and the more examples you can show of what's going on now, what went on before, what we're expecting to happen, sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not, they can see that A, I've done my homework before I got there, but B, I'm going to continue to do that because I've got past information and current, and I can pretty much guarantee that that good old boy who's been in their house before me has nothing like the stuff that I've just brought them. And then those charts, I have a folder ready for them, and I put them in the folder with my card and say, and these I'm going to leave with you because I know you're going to want to review them. And you're right, I'm right, because they've been looking at them and holding them up and like, where's my house on this? They haven't seen that data before, and I think that that's a way to wow them. It's something new that they have not seen.
Yep, absolutely. Giving them more than your fair share of data. I like that. You walk into a listing appointment with a massive amount of information. It's almost overwhelming to the seller, and going and walking them through it and guiding them through it, they're going to look at you as the expert. I agree 100%. Great answers. Thank you very much. And I see people putting information in the chat, collaborating, sharing ideas. I love that. Nikki Beauchamp out of New York City. I love your idea of sending the equity report every year. I think that's fantastic. Guys, check out in the chat what she said. I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so number 5, what do you bring on a listing appointment? So Joanie, you kind of shared some of the stuff that you bring on a listing appointment. Is there any one thing or two things that you're bringing on a listing appointment that is absolutely like blowing your clients away and letting them say, hey, I went with you because of this? What is that? Mike Rampf, we'll start with you, Vancouver.
Have you seen that video book? So it looks like comes in that big EV box, kind of similar. It pops out and it looks like a folder. It opens up and it's got a digital screen in the middle. It's phenomenal. We spend quite a lot of money on our creative videos. We hire models, actors. We do the whole 9 yards, like a video production on our really high-end listings. And we'll bring this, I think it's $60 US. And you can scroll through videos, and then at the end of the videos, you can do photos. So of a recent sale or an active listing that's comparable to the house that we're in, actually bring that along with us. And that wows everybody, absolutely everyone. It's excellent. And then I also do a digital listing presentation. So I bought an iPad Pro. If you look it up online, it's got this really cool stand that sits on a keyboard. Like, it really is fancy. It's next level. And I do my digital presentation on that. I use Google, and we customize this to the house. We have Google photos of it. We've got previous listing pictures of the front. If we don't have one, we drive by it, take a photo of it. We put that as the front. The clients absolutely love it. And we can customize it with an hour's notice. And you walk into a listing presentation with their photos of their house and absolutely everything about it, and it's on this presentation, really does hit home. That works really well. That with the video box are the two big hits for me.
That's awesome. I love it. I've seen digital listing presentations. Actually, yesterday we had the Brackett Janice group from Engel Volkers by the Sea in Gloucester, Massachusetts. They came down and showed us their digital listing presentation. It was unbelievable. So Mike, great advice. And I love the video book too. Definitely underutilized. I totally see that. Jennifer, what are you doing? What are you bringing to your listing appointment?
Well, it's just going to really depend on the client. Take my referral from Jacksonville. I, of course, will do all of my research beforehand. That way it's fresh in my mind. But with this client, I didn't want to seem presumptuous and bring all of our listing book presentation and stuff like that. I really wanted to get to know her and see what she really wanted to do first with the property. And then after that, I spent like 3 hours with her. After that, I called the office and said, okay, get the book ready. And we put it in the mail and we sent it to her and she was ecstatic. Now, depending on the other clients, if it is just a regular single family home or something like that, I will do the exact same thing as Mike said. I will customize all the advertisements or all of the data and marketing for that home. It takes, no time at all to drive by and take a screenshot or, picture from their house so that it's all very personalized. And then again, showing what really, because I kind of always have a feeling of what my clients will want beforehand. Just really what's happening in the neighborhood, what, is their development, is there, the sales, what are things going for, that kind of stuff, really. But I really, really wait to see, kind of what that client is leaning more towards. I don't want to be presumptuous and shove a bunch of stuff down their throat that they had no interest in.
Thank you. I just want to quickly ask Emiliano, what are you bringing to your listing appointment?
I think the usual as everyone else. One that is worked a lot is a simple notepad with our logo, a pen and a pencil. This is for the first meeting, of course. Then the second one, showtime in the office and listing presentation. But in the first one, the notepad with pen and pencil, they're going to use it for a long time and remember us. So that's a small one, but effective.
Yeah, and I love how you do the two-part listing appointment. I got Jennifer does that too. We do that here. I think it's great. And then let's jump over to Anne Malone. What are you bringing on your listing appointment?
Well, I bring a lot of data, as as others have said here. And then one thing I really like to do that I find clients are very interested in is I have a lot of beautiful before and after staging photos I've done of other homes. And even I find that even if their house doesn't need a lot of staging, they're impressed that I can do this sort of thing. And it's just beautiful visually and interesting. So I think that really captures our imagination. I also bring brochures of other luxury homes that I've listed. I send videos ahead of walkthrough videos that I've done of other people's houses too, which I think are very effective. And then my last thing is a very small, exquisite box of chocolates.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you. And then Joanie Heighes, is there anything else? I know you talked a lot about what you brought in your listing appointment. Is there anything else that you might have not said that you take with you?
So I too take the video book, and it just wows everybody that sees it because mine holds 2 of the lifestyle videos that I've done on other properties. So I make sure it's loaded with 2 that are appropriate. So I do that. And then what I forgot to say was, the white book, our listing book, is always personalized in the front. There's always a picture of their home on it. And then it just says, prepared especially for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And it's, all about them on the front page. And they're stunned that I brought a hardback book for them. And so, that along with all of our marketing and our EDGE program, which talks about, our reach. And in Florida, our sellers are always very concerned, are we going to be able to attract the Northeast buyer? Because that's a big feeder market for us. And with EDGE, I can show them hard and fast proof of how many hits they're going to get and from where, which sites, which platforms are we going into that unfortunately the small agent who's been here serving their neighborhood for a long time, they don't have that either. It's a very nice thing to open up and show them.